without further ado, we are here to bring on Miss Lori Peters. What is up, Lori? How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for being a part of the show again. I was talking to you on break that this is actually your third time to do this virtual thing with me where you were on for my birthday, and then I had you on for Drumathon, and it's like we can't get enough of you, dude.
Well, it's fun. I don't mind doing it. It's fun talking to you and get to know you a little bit more each time we talk. So
That's a fact, man. It totally is. And I love, like, usually when we chat, you're at your drum set, and I love the setup you've got right there. Are you at a studio right now?
yeah, this is our home studio. We just call it Ocean Studios.
Very
and
cool.
Yeah, so this is I'm in the control room right now.
Excellent. The place where all the magic happens.
Right?
I want to remind everybody that's watching right now to be sure and drop any questions that you might have for Lori into the broadcast in the comments down there. Just let us know if you have any questions at all. But we're going to jump into it. So, Lori, I know you're a breast cancer survivor, and it still hasn't even been that long since all this stuff went down. It's just been a couple of years, right?
Yeah, just over 2 years.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So we do this each time, but because we have new people watching every time, I want to be sure and take everyone through the journey and what led to you finding out you had breast cancer.
Well, just the normal mammogram. Actually, I only had one mammogram to go off of before I actually found the breast cancer. So I was in my early 40s, and I didn't start when you're supposed to. Like it changes, right? Yeah. First they say you're supposed to start at 40, and then it went to 50, and who knows. But anyway, I just went in for my normal yearly mammogram. Actually, I self-diagnosed it before it was confirmed, but I felt a lump, probably about the size of a golf ball. It was very sore. I couldn't sleep on my side. It was very uncomfortable. And then I also had some discharge, which is very common, clear discharge, which I thought was weird. And so went through all the normal tests, mammogram, and then it's just kind of, you keep jumping through these hoops thinking that, well, this will be the last test. Well, it's going to be nothing, right? And I just felt down deep. I'm like, I just know this isn't right. And so I had a biopsy, which actually just a normal biopsy, which came back negative. And so I remember distinctly looking at the doctors. Well, what about what I'm feeling? What about this discharge? Like, this isn't normal. And so that just pushed me on to the next step, which was ultrasound, I believe, probably another MRI, and then another stereotactic. That's what it's called, stereotactic biopsy, which was extremely painful. I don't know.
It doesn't sound fun. Is it? I know I had a core needle biopsy, which was, basically they put a needle in there and they take a little chip off of the tumor and then pull it out. I wonder if it's similar. I'm not familiar with it.
I'm sure it's very similar, but they probably poked me seven times all around that spot. So they're just trying to, because like the first biopsy was maybe a couple, pokes. So it's kind of like a shot in the dark. Like maybe they'll get it, maybe they won't. Well, they didn't. So then this stereotactic was just a lot of taking little chunks out, and it was pretty painful, I have to say. But worth it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's just part of the whole journey, is the biopsying it and checking everything. And so you were awake apparently for the whole thing, and it was just needles, like multiple, like different times they would go in and take, little biopsies of the tumor.
Yeah. And I don't know if so I went to a hospital up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am in Wisconsin, by the way.
I'm like Wisconsin, Michigan. I'm just telling you, too much caffeine today. But yeah, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So I went up to Milwaukee. I don't know if this is like a newer thing, but it's a table where you're basically laying face down. Did you experience anything like that?
No, actually, I didn't. But I've recently become aware of. Is this part of the MRI process in the biopsy where they do like a MRI guided biopsy of some kind or something to that effect, or was there?
Yeah, like a uh not MRI. Uh what's it called?
Ultrasound.
Ultrasound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So you're face down, breasts are hanging under you.
There's like
They're
a hole
under
in the table or something for your
Yeah,
breast.
they're
Yeah.
under there working on you.
It's like, yeah, you're like a car at the, jacked up. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of awkward, but no more awkward than being face down for the MRI, but
right.
Just really painful. I mean, they do numb it to a point.
Right.
But that was by far the worst going before surgery. That was the worst thing. But like I said, it was definitely worth it. Got the diagnosis, and then for me, the best option was just to have a mastectomy. And even though it was stage 0, but I wouldn't have had anything left if I would have had a lumpectomy. I opted to reconstruct, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I know that we've talked about it a few times, but do you mind telling everybody like what happened with the reconstruction plans?
Yeah. So I was gonna reconstruct, try to save the nipple, try to do all these things to get back to whatever, normal. And so when I went into surgery, it was successful, great surgery, removed everything. And then the next day, the surgeon came in, and the wound wasn't healing the way it should have been. So I had like a wound vac on for, I don't know, like a week or something. But every time they take that off and look at it, the skin just wasn't healing. So I learned all about hyperbaric treatments. Which
this is the part that always gets so interesting to me. I'm sorry that I fixate on it. Like on the break, I was like saying the same thing to you. I was like, it's always just so interesting because you're the only person that I know of that experienced this problem where you had a wound that wouldn't heal, and then they had this hyperbaric treatment that you're talking about that was so unique and sounds very cutting edge to me and very almost, sci-fi or something.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. It was all new to me, and I'm always surprised to hear you say that because I know you talk to so many survivors, and I asked my doctor, I'm like, well, is this common? And they just never will give you a straight answer. Like they kind of just say, well, it can happen and these things can happen. So, but since the wound wouldn't heal, so the idea of hyperbaric treatment is breathing oxygen, like pure oxygen under pressure. So you're in a hyperbaric chamber, which is pressurized like an airplane would be pressurized. And then you kind of have like a clear helmet and there's oxygen tubes going in there and it's tight around your neck. Not very comfortable.
Again, total sci-fi. And I've seen these pictures of you, I think on your Instagram, where you have a photo, at least one or maybe two photos of you in that situation. I just remember thinking, wow, that is really spacey. And you said that like even when the nurses would come in, they had to wear special equipment.
Well, it's pressurized, so that you like on an airplane, you can still breathe. The reason we have the helmets on is because we're the ones, breathing in the pure oxygen or the high amounts of oxygen. So there's always a nurse in the chamber with you, of course, in case something goes wrong. You can't just, unlock the door and open it. There's a whole
Yeah,
there's a whole process.
yeah, like I think about like with divers, when they're really deep, they've dove really deep, and then they can't just come back up really fast, or bad things will happen, and so they
Yep.
have to go up a little at a time. They can't just, oh, I gotta, it doesn't matter what's happened. If there's an emergency, they can't just come up really fast. They have to wait, and so it's the same kind of thing. I can only
Yep.
imagine the amount of like, I don't know, that would stress me out and make me a little claustrophobic. Did it do that for you?
Big time. Big time. When the doctor was telling me what this treatment was going to be like, I was just in tears because he just kept talking about the pressure in your ears. And, if, like you say, if a diver comes up too quick, or you open a airplane, door, the pressure, it can blow your eardrums. And
Yeah, and
so,
as musicians, as drummers especially, I mean, nobody wants to lose their hearing, but I know as a musician, that's extremely scary. It's like, having something happen to your hands or whatever, any of those things, would just be horrible.
yeah,
Very
that was
scary.
my biggest fear. But thankfully it was fine. But yeah, very claustrophobic, and I also get kind of motion sick. So you've got that pressure thing happening, and then I'm hot, and I had to endure that for 2 weeks, 18 treatments, and each treatment is 2 hours.
My gosh, yuck. 2 hours, man. No.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy. But it did the trick, right? I mean, it solved the
Yep.
problem, right? It's
Yeah,
amazing.
my skin, was able to heal enough. So then I had to have a second surgery, and then they were able to kind of clean up the wound and sew it back together. And they took the expander out. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Forget it. Just get it out. And I'm fine without it.
Yeah, and ever since then you've been good, right? There's a lot of women out there. I know we're part of that Survivors Rock of Breast Cancer Can Stick It community, which I also have pinned in the broadcast here. And a lot of women often ask if they're newly diagnosed and they're struggling with, if they want to have reconstruction or not, and it is obviously a very personal decision. But I get asked a lot,
Yeah.
do you regret that decision? And I don't know if I've ever asked you that before. Do you regret the decision to not reconstruct?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at this point, and I'm only 2 years out, but just because of having to go through all that hyperbaric stuff, the idea of opening my skin up again doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah, it sounds like you're tempting fate a little bit, right? It's like, hey, I got out
Yeah.
of that okay, why do it? And in all honesty, even though I didn't go through anything remotely close to what you went through with that was my mindset anyway, just from the cancer. Was like, I just want to get the cancer out and I want to start
Yeah.
recovering. I didn't want to, tempt fate. That's kind of how my mind was working with that. And, I probably like you, I kept thinking, at some point I'm gonna wake up one morning and be like, oh my God, or, like, and freak out. I don't have breasts. Oh my God. I'm like, just one day, is it gonna hit me and I'm gonna freak out? And it just has never happened. And, it took me a while. I don't know about you, but like right after the surgery, it took me a little while to look at my chest. And for those watching, may not be familiar with this, but I don't know if you did this, Lori, but um, I read up on like the best way to look at your chest for the first time after you've had a double mastectomy without reconstruction. And
Okay.
they were like, don't look in the mirror, just look down. Like, get used to looking down at yourself, because in the mirror it can be a lot more shocking, than just kind
Yeah.
of like looking down. So do you remember after you had the mastectomy, did you look down the first chance you got, or did you kind of have a plan? Like I like literally had a plan, dude. I was like, okay, let me have the right people here, like I was afraid I was gonna freak out.
Yeah. I think I did look down a lot, just because um every night my husband would change, the dressing and put, Aquaphor. Like, I mean, my wound ended up being pretty good size. I don't know what a normal like the normal incision, but mine was like, all the way from like the center, like it's pretty good size. So I had several stitches all the way across. So every night I kind of looked down at that, but I do remember looking in the mirror for the first time. Yeah, it was kind of emotional and kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
But you just got to do it.
Yeah, you're right. I remember I've told this story many times before, but I don't know if I ever said it to you. Had a friend with me, and I remember looking down, and I said I look like a freak. And the words that she said after that have, I think, made the biggest difference in my recovery emotionally. And she said, "No, you look like someone who doesn't have cancer." And it wasn't even like, it wasn't even like some, well thought out plan. That's just what fell out of her mouth at that second. And I think that statement really, helped me be able to deal with it and be like, hey, that's a really damn good point. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Wow. So this all happened just 2 years ago, and I know we've talked about it a few times, but you kind of made the decision early on to sort of keep the diagnosis to yourself. And just like having a mastectomy with no reconstruction or any of the other decisions that happen, they're all very personal, and there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever's right for that person is what's most important. And so when you were first diagnosed, you decided that you wanted to just keep that to yourself. Do you want to talk a little bit about your reasoning for that? Because now you're like a proponent. You're like, I mean, guys, she's been amazing to Breast Cancer Can Stick It, and Lori, your story is so important to people watching, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your story. And I'm personally glad that you come to a place where you're comfortable talking about it, because it really makes a huge difference. I mean, you're an inspiration to people, so for real.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think out of the gate, I was just really embarrassed. Like, growing up, I've always been pretty modest, and so I didn't want everything out there on Facebook. I didn't want, the whole world to know. I didn't want the, Skillet fans to know for whatever reason. I guess it's just because there's a lot of unknowns, and you don't know what's going to happen. And so until I felt like I had a good handle on getting through the process, because unexpected things happen, of course. And so once I got through that, I felt like I could share a little bit. Like, I only told a very small group of my close friends, people that would, visit me in the hospital. And then I started to expand that group a little bit. And then honestly, when I actually, I knew about Breast Cancer Can Stick It, but I didn't look at it close enough. And I feel bad that I didn't. I don't know. I just scrolled through it, and I didn't pay attention like I should have. And I feel kind of embarrassed about saying that, but now
I don't think you shouldn't at all, because I mean, that was just where you were at that point in time, man. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like everything else we're talking about. It's like everything kind of happens for a reason, I think, and everything happens in its time, in the time that it's supposed to. So I think it worked out, exactly how it was supposed to when you did decide to kind of dive in and see what this was all about.
Yeah, and the fact that it's about breast cancer and it showcases drummers, I mean, that really helped me come out of my shell, because of course I'm very familiar with drums. I'm comfortable talking about it. And then it's, this foundation has just helped me, talk about it just like I am now. And I'm not embarrassed about it anymore. And like you said, hopefully it's changing people's, thought patterns about supporting breast cancer survivors and just raising awareness.
It totally is, man. I mean, it really is. And, it's cool because in our survivor group, there's actually several drummers. I find that pretty interesting, because there's not a lot of female drummers anyway. And then we have several female drummers in our survivor group that, that are breast cancer survivors, obviously. And
Yeah.
so it's really cool that we have that space to talk and have such similar interests like that. I think it's a really good thing. And speaking of drums, you guys just released a new song, right?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. Because so my husband, he writes and produces his own music, and of course I play drums on it. And he wanted to write a song for me about my breast cancer journey. And so we finished that up, and we were able to release it during, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I think we just released it on the 30th of October, and it's called "Save the Day" is the title of the song. And so the band or the project is Emerald Escape, and so it's available on Spotify and all the streaming services.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it here. People to see me when I'm talking. I was like not even on the screen for a second. But yeah, yeah, I want to actually try to pull that up real quick and see. It's Emerald
Escape.
Yep, right there, because I love that. But I thought I would bring that up so people could easily find it. But yeah, it's called Save the Day,
Nice.
and you've probably seen it a lot online. Let me mute that for a second. That might have bled through. My apologies to everybody listening. But let me see if I can show you guys what this looks like here. Hang on. So this is the Save the Day. You can see this. This is actually a photo of you with a patch on, isn't it? Is that you? Yeah. Yeah, tell us the story behind that.
Idea, because the song was written for me and about my breast cancer journey. I'm like, well, if we get a good enough picture, and I put this eye patch on, that to me that just kind of represents my mastectomy, basically.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's really cool. And you guys have done a lot of promotion for this. I've seen it all over Instagram and Facebook, and so everybody should go check that out. It looks like it's available on multiple platforms. I know Spotify has it. I'm sure iTunes, various places. Are you guys planning to do any kind of a video for that or anything?
I'll probably do a drum tutorial again, like I did last time with our other single, "Kill the Pain." We might. We'll see what happens.
Be a good opportunity to blend in some of those photos from when you went through breast cancer. And I mean, I think that's a really great positive message that you guys have with that. I've listened to it a little bit, and it's really something that everybody should check out. And we should definitely let our survivor friends in the group know about the song too, because something that empowers women as breast cancer survivors and gives them strength like that, like a song and the lyrics with that tune, I think is a really positive thing. I know we've got Tommy coming up here in about 20 minutes, but even though I've asked you this question 10,000 times, Lori, I'm going to ask you again because I ask it of every breast cancer survivor. And again, we have folks watching right now who maybe haven't seen you. And for those watching, this is Lori Peters, former drummer from Skillet, also a breast cancer survivor. If you guys have any last minute questions for her, please pop it into the chat there. I want to give a big shout out to a few people who are watching right now. Dennis is here. Your sister Lisa is in the house. Woohoo!
Woo! Yes.
Yeah, baby. Joe's here. We got Matt in the house. Grace, Mitzi, Darla, Debbie, Dan, Alan, Jennifer, Brenda, Paul, Melissa K, Kim. Lots of people watching right now. So guys, thank you so much for watching the show tonight. And I'm sure we'll probably, we have to have you on again because we love chatting with you. So I'm sure we'll do it again really soon. But it means a lot to me that you're always so open to come back and chat about this and just kind of spread the word about what it was like going through breast cancer and the different things that you had to overcome. And I think it's a really great story of overcoming adversity, Lori. So I really appreciate you coming on. So the question that I was going to ask is, you're like, is she going to get back to it? I need to know. I always like to ask this question, and that is, tell us something positive you got from going through breast cancer.
Oh man, should I change up my answer from last time?
You know, that would be fun because if there's more than one positive thing, I think it's great to tell everybody that, you know?
All right. Well, I would say one of the positives is, this might be similar. I don't know. Just being able to talk about it, being able to get on social media in, public eye, and feeling comfortable talking about it, not embarrassed anymore, getting back on my drum kit more. All those things are playing into it, and in large part to Breast Cancer Can Stick It Foundation. I'm just going to say it.
And I didn't even pay you to say that, dude. Well, I mean, seriously, thank you. I mean, I feel honored every time we talk that I feel that way. And, you know, I think the most important part of the whole thing is, like you said, being able to share your story and hopefully help other women who are maybe just going through breast cancer for the first time and really scared, and to be able to see someone like yourself who's gone through a lot, and with the wound not healing and everything and all the crazy stuff, and to be on the other side of that and have a positive message is really cool. And guys, I want to remind you again to check out that song Save the Day by Emerald Escape out there on Spotify.
Yes.
Be sure and look that up for sure. She didn't pay me to say that at all. I might ask for money later, but I'm just kidding. No, seriously, check it out, guys. Great tune, Save the Day. And Lori, I hope you'll come back and visit us again sometime. And I just want to wish you well, and let's chat again soon. Just like hang out, you and me chat sometime. Not necessarily in the public eye.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
it's great seeing you, girl.
Me.
Take care, Lori.
You too.
Later. Guys, that was Lori Peters. She's awesome. Always love chatting with her. She's a huge inspiration, I know, to a lot